Hi, I'm Saida Garrett, co-writer of Michael Jackson's Man in the Mirror, and you're listening to Rainbow Country with Mr. Mark Tara.
The views and opinions expressed on the following program are those of the persons appearing on the program.
Today on Rainbow Country, a spotlight on 2 LGBT documentaries that are part of this year's Hot Docs Film Festival in Toronto. Any Other Way, the Jackie Shane story, and A Mother Apart. Plus, my Big Brother Canada Season 12 coverage continues with the most recent Evicted houseguests, and on this episode there will be 2. All that and more in episode 402, so stay tuned for Gay Talk Radio right here on Rainbow Country.
Hi, this is Carol Pope.
Hi, I'm Garrett Conley, author of Boy Erased, a memoir.
Hi, I'm Lorraine Segato.
Hi, I'm Gordep with the Spoons. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Well, hello and welcome to a brand new journey through Rainbow Country, as I like to call it, a little gay radio show working to give voice to the LGBT community and beyond. And as always, I am your tour guide through Rainbow Country. I'm producer and host, Mark Tara. By the way, Rainbow Country originates from CIUT-FM in Toronto, and now proudly in syndication on 12 outlets across Canada, from coast to coast to coast. The Yukon, British Columbia, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, the east coast of Canada in Newfoundland, Ontario, even down to Buffalo, New York, and online. Well, thanks to you tuning in, streaming, downloading, but ultimately listening. Together we continue to build Rainbow Country into a nationally syndicated gay radio show, a #1 LGBT podcast on Podomatic.com's Gay and Lesbian chart, as well as being recognized as a #1 Canadian LGBT podcast on Feedspot.com. So today, Hot Docs Film Festival runs in Toronto, April 25th through May 5th. And on this episode, I'm focusing on 2 documentaries that are part of this year's festival. Any Other Way, the Jackie Shane story, a documentary that brings to life the life of trans 60s soul singer Jackie Shane. Joining me will be the directors of the film, Michael Mabbitt, and trans filmmaker Luca Rosenberg-Lee. Plus, A Mother Apart, a documentary about Jamaican-American poet, LGBTQ+ activist, and feminist Stacey Ann Chin. This documentary focuses on the essential art of mothering. I'm joined by the director of A Mother Apart, Laurie Townsend. Plus in hour 2, music from LGBT artists, independent artists, voices that we've come to know and love in classic disco, classic 80s, classic house. And on this episode, I'm featuring some Canadian disco, some gay 80s, and more. All that lies ahead as we start Journey 402 through Rainbow Country. First up, the latest 2 Evicted houseguests from Big Brother Canada Season 12. And by the way, next week, there'll be another 2 Evicted houseguests.
We interrupt this program with an important announcement. The following message is being transmitted at the request of the Big Brother broadcast service. This is not a just quarantine set. The BB Can studios are on total lockdown. The house guest's entire game is on the line tonight. Nobody is safe. This is not a test. Repeat. This is not a test. This is Big Brother Canada.
Elijah, hi, how are you?
Hi, Mark. I'm well. Yourself?
I am good. Elijah, let's just jump right in. That vote, unanimous? Did that vote surprise you?
A little bit, but based on my conversation with Kayla, I was pretty sure I was toast. So it was a little surprising.
The movie night massacre. Generally speaking, what was that experience like for you?
It's totally wild. It ended up being my doom. I think I probably would have been fine if it didn't happen, but it was a cool twist. Like, I was in the room, like, reading the stuff, and I was like, whoa, like, this is a pretty cool one. So, I mean, it was wild, though. Definitely got me.
What are your thoughts on being evicted on a twist?
I mean, in a way, it like kind of softens the blow because like you can only like plan ahead so much in regards to twists, right? Especially like something like this that's never been done before. So it does soften the blow, I feel.
Elijah, do you think that there was was there anything more you could have done to save your game?
I maybe could have like gone to Todd and gotten to go to Spicy and be like, we had the votes for Tola. But it was tricky though, because like Spicy like lied straight up and was like, oh no, you'll be fine, we'll send Avery home. And like by the time I realized like, oh no, I'm probably toast, like I pretty much ran out of time. But I mean, that's the game, right? So it's all good. It is what it is.
So Elijah, a couple of weeks ago, you were head of household. How do you think your HOH reign went? How do you think your HOH reign went?
Well, it started promising and ended up being a spectacular train wreck. But at least it was fun to watch, I'm sure.
Why do you think your fellow house guests wanted you out of the game? Why?
To be honest, like, I definitely still had a bit of a reputation for being untrustworthy, so I'm sure that didn't help. But at the end of the day, I think it was more like Spicy V wanted to save Avery, and she had enough clout to make it happen. And I was kind of like a compromise with like the people, like for like Anthony and Todd and Alexis. I feel like me going was kind of a compromise. So I think that's kind of how it played out.
Elijah, let's go back in time. You find out you'll be on Big Brother Canada 12. Do you have a strategy going into the game?
Yeah, my strategy was like find a ride or die, try to get in different sides of the house, divide and conquer. And that didn't really happen. But all things considered, I feel like I did reasonably well for the most part. Obviously, the HOH week was ruinous. But even though like the strategy I had didn't end up being exactly how I played things, I feel like I did well for the most part. Aside from the HOH week, that was a blunder.
Elijah, what would you say your biggest move was? What was your biggest move?
What's my biggest move? That's the thing. I didn't really get so much of a big move. I definitely feel like I was kind of one of the first people to be like, yeah, Dennis should go. And I can't take full credit. There was more like I planted seeds and then that inspired other people to plant a garden is the way I saw it. So maybe that, I guess staying over Matt, I kind of had the votes. It's just like I locked them in and I think I did a good job locking them in. So I guess one or the other, but yeah, just with the timing, I never got to make a big move like I wanted. But I mean, you shouldn't make a big move for the sake of big move. So I'm not too hard on myself about that. It's all about timing.
Most challenging part about this whole Big Brother Canada 12 experience?
Being a have-not, like that's no joke. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. You think it's just, oh, the slop tastes bad. And then you eat it and you're like, oh, slop's actually not that bad. But then you realize like you're seeing other people eating and you just know you can't eat. And then it's like day in and day out, eventually, like you get sick of slop because that's all you're eating and it just messes with your head, especially the first time when you don't know that you can survive it. So yeah, that's have-nottery is no joke.
Elijah, here's my last question for you, and it's simply this. best part about being part of Big Brother Canada Season 12?
I guess there's so much. Like, it's a dream come true for me, adventure of a lifetime. But I think it was just the people. Like, I didn't expect to like everyone so much. And I'm 31 years old and I have like a new big group of friends. Like, how often does that happen in this life? So I guess just like the people, you know, like I just was blessed with such a great group of people in there. Sure, they nominated me all the time and they eventually sent me out, but like it's all in the game, you know, and I'm just so blessed to have played and met all of them.
Elijah, well said, well done, well played. Thanks for your time. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. Have yourself a great day.
House guests, I have the results. By a vote of 5-0, Kayla, you have been evicted from the Big Brother Canada house. Please gather your things and say your goodbyes.
Kayla, hello, hi, how are you?
Hi, I'm good under the circumstances. Thank you for asking.
Kayla, let's jump right in. The vote, 5-0, unanimous. Did that vote surprise you?
No, I don't think it surprised me. I think Bailey's situation, I was very upfront with her in the fact that, yeah, I did entertain a backdoor idea. So I wasn't expecting her vote. I knew that Todd was going to do whatever she was going to do also. So those were 2 votes. And I assumed I didn't have Lex's or Anthony's vote because in a sense, they were kind of the reason why I was sitting in the chair in the first place. And I think Spicy and Avery, I think they both knew at the end that there was probably a lot that was miscommunicated to them. But I think at that point, it was too late to really do anything about it or to backtrack. So I wasn't surprised about a 5-0.
Kayla, your alliance member Avery was head of household, HOH, yet she put you on the block. Why do you think your alliance member put you on the block?
And it's tough because she wasn't even just my alliance member. She was probably my best friend in the house. Her and Spicy were my 2 best friends. And I think because the information that had been communicated to them had come from other members of Hot Chocolate, that I think it was almost hard for them not to believe, and especially from the people that it was coming from specifically. They are so well spoken. It's almost like it's hard not to believe them. Like, even when they were telling me things that I was saying, for a second I was like, wait, did I say that? Like, I started to manifest some of those stories in my own mind, like, but it just didn't make sense to me that I would have said any of that. So I think it was between that, and especially again with me entertaining the Bailey backdoor plan, and hearing that Avery actually really was starting to really like Bailey and really wanted to work with her. I didn't know that, and I thought that Hot Chocolate was our priority. So I think between the things that Lexus and Anthony were saying and the fact that I did express the idea of considering to backdoor Bailey, I think everything just tied together and it made her decision quite easy to put me on the block.
Kayla, who do you feel most betrayed by?
I have to say I feel the most betrayed by Avery and Spicy, only because, again, they were my best friends and they could have, I really wish that they had talked to me about some of these concerns that they were having. Granted, they also thought that there was things that I wasn't telling them and that I was talking behind their back. So maybe they didn't even want to take the risk, but I think the fact that they were so quick to believe other people who they didn't have daily conversations with, I think that hurt a lot because we spent a lot of time together. So I would say Spicy and Avery.
Do you think your alliance members made the right decision evicting you?
No, I don't think they did. I think that they prioritized others. And, you know, we had like me, Spicy, and Avery had the Girls Alliance, and Lexus and Anthony was working with Matt and Tola. And I think that those fake alliances really started to manifest into real alliances. And I think I think there were certain people that geared off of the plan a little bit of what we came into this game to do. So I really think that things are going to crumble now. I think that there were two sides, and now it's getting rid of me it now evens the game board a little bit. You know, on the one side now there's Bailey, Todd, Spicy, and Avery, and on the other side there was Lexus, Anthony, and Tola. So now it's a bit of a more 4-on-3 situation. But I think I would have been that person that made it a 5-on-3, which is why I think I ended up on the block and ended up going home, because if it wasn't me, it would have been either Lexus or Tola. And I think that Anthony was worried about Lexus or Tola going home.
Kayla, let's go back in time. You find out you'll be on Big Brother Canada 12. Do you have a strategy going into the game?
I knew that I was going to, or at least I hoped that I was going to be very good at the physical competitions. I really enjoy puzzles on the side, so I was confident in my ability to win physical competitions. I wanted allies who also thrived in other aspects of the game, like the social aspect or the mental aspect. And I wanted to gain as much relationships as possible in different categories of the game. And I wanted to play as honest and loyal of the game as possible. I really, of course, the honest game, I think, lost track a little bit because, again, we got tied up in a couple of fake alliances, but I really was loyal to Hot Chocolate. And at least I know I left the house knowing that I was just as loyal as I said I wanted to be.
Kayla, you won 2 Power of Veto competitions. What were those competitions like to play?
They were so fun. I remember the first one, seeing all the little puzzle pieces in the sand in the Sunwing Challenge. I knew in the back of my mind that I had that one. It was such a fun thing to do. And in the moment, seeing how I was a little concerned about, am I going to be distracted by other people's progress? But then being immersed in the experience, I was totally tunnel vision and was just so focused on what I was doing. And the 5K also was a really great bonus. And then the second POV win was just as important because now my life was actually on the line. So it was good to know that in a POV situation where I was on the block prior to, that I could have actually stood a chance of winning and saving myself. I think that was a really special feeling that I was able to do that in that moment under that pressure.
Kayla, most challenging part about this whole experience for you? What's been the most challenging part?
I think this would be a little bit of a blessing and a curse. The fact that I never had, very seldom did I ever have an opportunity to be in a room by myself with my thoughts. It was very hard to find time for myself. That is how in the outside world I'm used to coping with my feelings. But it also, and that's where now it becomes also a blessing because I've now learned how to depend on other people's support, other strangers' support, and be okay with it. I was on the block for 2 days, and I spent the first day kind of, sad in my feelings. But by the end of the day, I was like, oh, I'm bored of this now. I miss the people that I hang out with every day. So I made it, the next day, I made it a goal of mine to just kind of forget about what just happened the day before and really connect with the people that I really enjoy spending time with in this house. So I think me being dependent on other people and it being okay is definitely something that was challenging, but I now really appreciate as well.
Kayla, here's my last question for you, and it's simply this. Best part about being part of Big Brother Canada Season 12?
The cast. I can't stress enough how I've watched other seasons. You know, I see how sometimes different people connect and it gets a little bit cliquey in some ways. But every single person from week one was so welcoming, inclusive. We were always chatting. You never, we had our best friends in the house, but it was great getting to connect with each person on an individual level. And I'm so glad, like I could have walked in there and I was expecting to walk in there being like, okay, like there's going to be like 2 people that I actually like. Everybody else, I'm just going to hate, like, they're going to annoy me for whatever reason. Like, I was actually annoyed that I didn't hate anybody. I was shocked that we were such a close-knit group of people. And I think that's also what made the game so hard as well, because there was no villains in the season. There was no, like, it was a different kind of season. And that's something that I think was my favorite part about it was, there was never an easy target. And it made the game more challenging.
Kayla, thanks for your time. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much, Mark.
Big Brother Canada Season 12 airs on Global TV Sundays, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays. For more information, simply visit bigbrothercanada.ca. When I return, Any Other Way, the Jackie Shane story.
Hi, everybody. This is Gino Vanelli. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
I'm all alone. I would bring her back to me.
When we first came in, to the left of the door was like a mini dresser, and it was a hat, really large, like dark sunglasses, the plastic gloves that you wash dishes with, and 2 guns.
I was like, okay, what is really going on here? Every room was full of vintage-looking stuff. We didn't know what was treasures and what was not.
Her jewelry was just amazing. Look at all this stuff.
I know.
It's just pretty. Look.
She was very stylish and very fashion-forward. She had all kind of styles.
We found all kinds of clothes, boxes and boxes of jewelry. They were stored as if they were things that she still used today. And look at this. What is this with her monogram on?
Oh, yeah.
A cigarette case. Did she smoke? I've seen a couple of pictures holding a cigarette, but did she? Maybe it was just to be cute.
I don't know.
Michael Mabbitt. Hi, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am well. Did I say your last name correctly?
Absolutely, yeah.
Yay, one for me. Luca Rosenberg Lee. Hello.
Yes. Hello, how are you?
I am well. I have to say thank you both to the two of you for being here to have your voices, your stories be heard by the LGBT community and beyond. So thank you for this, especially to talk about your new documentary, Any Other Way, the Jackie Shane story. First and foremost, congrats on getting any film done, a Canadian film, a documentary, but a film that tells a really powerful story and, in my humble opinion, probably a story that most people don't know, but a powerful story nonetheless. I want to start from the ground and build up. And Michael, I want to start with yourself. Basically, let's start with the basics. Who was Jackie Shane, Michael?
At once a really simple and an extraordinarily hard question to answer. Jackie Shane was an extraordinary Black trans soul singer who was born in the South in Nashville and escaped Jim Crow South and all that entailed, and came up to Canada via Cornwall, via Montreal, and eventually landed in Toronto, where she was a really big star for about 10 years and had an extraordinary top 2 hit. She said it would have gone to #1, but they didn't let it. On
Chum Radio.
On Chum Radio, yeah, and got radio play all over Toronto, all over Ontario, all over the Eastern Seaboard. Really, it was a time when radio was the king, and so there was regional hits, and she had a really big regional hit with Any Other Way. And then after that, she recorded an extraordinary live album, like one of the great R&B soul live albums that I've ever heard, here in Toronto at the Sapphire Club. And she was a bona fide star throughout the 60s. And then in 1971, Jackie walked off the stage and disappeared and was gone, and nobody knew if she was alive or dead, and was gone for 45 years. Until in 2016, a record company reissued all her recordings with her consent and with her collaboration. And so that was the time that I and every other fan of Jackie realized, thank God she was actually alive. She was living as a recluse in Nashville, so she wasn't really out in the world or talking to many people, but she was alive and wanted her music and her story out in the world.
And Michael, for yourself, for me personally, I first heard of Jackie Shane back in 2016. For yourself, when did you first hear of Jackie Shane?
Not too much before that, about 2012, I would say. And it was because there was a bootleg of Jackie Shane Live, the album recorded here at the Sapphire. And I heard that album, and, I'm a Torontonian, I'm a music fan. And when I heard that album, I'd never heard that album, which shocked me, how and why did I never hear what I think is the greatest album ever recorded in Toronto, So I heard about it, about 2012, through this bootleg, and immediately just the power of this album. I wanted to know more, and there was very, very little known about her. Like anything that was known was just rumors. But that album spoke to me. It's live from the floor, recorded in a tavern in Toronto, and it's just one of those things. Like, it felt like she was talking to me. It felt like I was there. It soothed my soul, and it made me want to, dance my ass off at the same time. So that was my introduction to her, and the idea, and it's gone throughout this film of how did we not know about this? And that just inspired me to try to find out more. And I tried for years, and there was just nothing. And then in the 2016 release, realizing she was alive, it took me about a year to find my way through to Jackie, and to begin another year of phone calls with Jackie. But yeah, for a long time it was a mystery. But I think that's how I heard, and a lot of people heard of Jackie, was through this bootleg of this live album.
And Luca, for yourself, when did you first hear of Jackie Shane?
I actually hadn't heard of Jackie Shane, like so many people. And my first introduction was actually Michael, who, when he approached me to direct this with him, which I'm very grateful for, I realized that, wow, this was somebody who was a member of my community, black trans person, and I hadn't heard of them for a variety of reasons that we get into in the film, and that and I think that it was just very inspiring. Yeah, it was super inspiring to dive into this story and then become one of the only people that knew as much about Jackie as Michael, which has been an incredible experience.
So, Luca, for yourself, talk to me about your involvement in this documentary. When did you get involved in this?
So I got involved around 2020. Michael reached out and, he had already been talking to Jackie. This was years prior. And then she had passed away and he was early in production. And he had seen my first short, Passing, which is about me as a, Mark, about me as a, what it's like to pass as a black trans man in today's society. And Michael liked it, and he felt like I would be a good addition to helping him bring this to life. Originally, Michael was going to basically make it with Jackie. And then she unexpectedly passed away, which opened up opportunity for just different black trans voices to be part of this story. And Michael and I talk a lot about how, as unfortunate as it was that she passed away, that this film has now there's so many layers that have been added to it because of the amount of people that collaborated to bring it together. So when he reached out, it was to help direct and help write. And by write in this documentary context, I mean, what parts of the story to tell, what parts to leave out, what order to tell them in, what's the POV, because, Michael talked to her for, 30 hours or more, and it's a lot of story.
And Luca, for yourself, for you personally, why do you think this story went so unsung for so long?
I mean, my initial thought was that just the erasure of black trans people in general. We just don't focus on them. We don't, those stories aren't in the ethos. One of the reasons the film took a long time to even be made was because even in the early pitches, people thought that, a film that centered a black trans hero was too niche for people to be into it. And obviously we've seen trans narrative continue to grow and grow and grow. When I transitioned 15 years ago, it was like people didn't even really know what trans was. Now they do. Some people are pro-trans. Some people are, obviously we've seen a lot of anti-trans sentiment. But I think one of the reasons why she was erased was because, I mean, not just her recluseness and being out of the spotlight for 45 years, but there's just, not a lot of focus on trans people or looking for them. And that's what was so great about Michael sort of doing this detective work and tracking her down. And then as we made the film, we also realized that another reason she was erased was the family history. She's got these two nieces, which we see in the film, and they're kind of discovering her alongside the audience because they didn't know she existed even within their own family. And that was because the past generations, when Jackie basically left the US and moved to Canada, there was just, we don't talk about gay people. We don't talk about trans people. We don't talk about sissies was the term that was used. We just, pretend it doesn't exist. And we've seen a huge change. It's been so nice to see the family evolve, and you'll see it in the film. But to see them just embrace Jackie's story and say, like, that the buck stops here with that. Like, we're not going to do that anymore. We're going to rewrite this narrative.
So here's my last question, and it's for the two of you. What do you hope audiences come away with after they've seen Any Other Way, the Jackie Shane story? Luca, what do you hope audiences come away with?
I hope they come away with the reminder that, black trans people have always been here, that they are talented and creative, and that they can be confident, and just that kind of seeing beyond just that one-sided narrative. And I also hope they come away with some inspiration to live their truth, to be themselves, but also to ideally not judge other people for the same thing, regardless of where you stand politically. One of the big themes in the film is, Jackie would say, live and let live. And part of that is, if you let me be me, I'll let you be you. And I think we need a lot of that right now.
And Michael?
Strength and joy, which is what I get from Jackie, and I think what she wanted people to have. And I think when she was at her height here, the connection that she had with people, or that rather the connection people had with her, was seeing this person on stage, being their true self, having this courage, and that gave them courage, whoever they were, whatever they were scared of, to be themselves and to have the courage. If she can do it, I can do it. And she was an example. And she was, which is a profound thing to me. And to give somebody courage, she was also giving courage in the vehicle of performing extraordinarily beautiful music. And joyful music. And so I hope people come out feeling they can be brave and feeling a whole lot of joy, because there was a whole lot of joy in Jackie, and she created so much joyful, beautiful things. And I'm just so happy and grateful that that's going to get amplified in this. And Jackie talked a lot when we were speaking. She was talking about coming back to Toronto and doing more shows, and where could she play. And she would have me look up, how big is Massey Hall, and maybe we need to do 2 nights there, and can I do a show at Pride. And she wanted to spread what she spread, this magical, powerful joy. And she passed away and didn't get to do that. So I hope that comes through in this film, for people to still feel what she had wanted them to feel.
Well said, Michael. Well said. Michael Mabbitt, Luca Rosenberg-Lee. Well said, well done, well filmed, well made. Thank you both for your time. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mark. A pleasure.
When we first came in, to the left of the door was like a mini dresser, and it was a hat, really large, like dark sunglasses, the plastic gloves that you wash dishes with, and 2 guns.
I was like, okay, what is really going on here? Every room was full of vintage-looking stuff. We didn't know what was treasures and what was not.
Her jewelry is just amazing. Look at all this stuff.
I know.
It's just pretty. Look.
She was very stylish and very fashion-forward. She had all kind of styles.
We found all kinds of clothes, boxes and boxes of jewelry. They were stored as if they were things that she still used today. And look at this. What is this with her monogram on?
Oh, yeah.
A cigarette case. Did she smoke? I've seen a couple of pictures holding a cigarette, but did she? Maybe it was just to be cute.
I don't know.
Any Other Way, the Jackie Shane story, will be screened Saturday and Sunday, April 27th and 28th. And Saturday, May 4th. Hot Docs Film Festival runs in Toronto, April 25th to May 5th. For more information, simply visit hotdocs.ca. When I return, A Mother Apart.
I'm Brian Bradley, author of Outrageous Misfits, female impersonator Craig Russell and his wife, Lori Russellidi. You are listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Terra.
Hi, my name is Joanne Vanicola, and I'm an actor and a writer, and I was first on Rainbow Country with Mark Terra on discussing the massacre at Pulse Club in Orlando. I realized how important it was for our community to have a radio station, specifically for our issues, to talk about people in the LGBTQ community and to provide an outlet for our stories, to discuss our politics, culture, and give voice to the issues that matter to us. And of course our artists and the things that we do globally, and talk about culture. And without people like Mark Terra providing a space for this with a radio show like this, then we wouldn't have that voice. So support, tune in. Thank you.
Hi, I'm writer Adam Smith, author of Deep Sniff, A History of Poppers and Queer Futures. You're listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.
Who was waiting for you to be born?
No one was waiting for me to be born.
Nobody?
Nobody.
You were waiting for me to be born.
Absolutely. My mother left me long before I was born. I'm a writer, I'm a poet. I would like to think I'm a truth speaker.
You skipped daughter.
My mother left me and came to Montreal. I trekked all the way across the globe to go and find her after she left me.
She just kind of disappeared.
I'm finding pictures of my mother that I have never seen. It's possible that she won't show up at all. My mother never comes back. I don't want to do that to you. I definitely want to be a different kind of parent to you. Every bit of my life is built around the reality of being her mom. I can feel something pulling me towards forming a different relationship to the people that scared me. It's time to be done being afraid. It's time to model courage.
Because they're always gonna come back for you.
It's a long story. It's a very long story.
Lori Townsend, hi, how are you?
I'm great, Mark. Thank you for asking.
I have to say thank you for being here to have your voice, your story be heard by the LGBT community and beyond. So thank you for this, especially to talk about a new Canadian documentary, A Mother Apart. First of all, congrats on getting a film done, let alone a documentary in Canada. So congrats on that, first and foremost. You are the director. You also co-wrote this documentary. I like to start with the basics. And if you can, give us a sense of the story that you're getting at in this documentary, A Mother Apart. What's the story that you're getting at here?
Well, wow, it's an epic story, Mark. It's a story that
spans many countries.
It does. It spans many countries. It couldn't have been told without the trust and the building of this relationship that I have with Stacey Ann Chin, a renowned poet, activist, and mom. I knew of Stacey Ann's work just by way of her autobiography, The Other Side of Paradise, which she did a reading back in 2008. So I knew of her work, and she's got a lot of readers and fans up in Toronto, which is where I'm based. And when I started thinking about this idea of a documentary about mother activists and what it is to raise children in times of conflict and change, Stacey Ann was one of the first moms that jumped to mind. And so through the development process, I learned more about her story, more than what was revealed through her one-woman off-Broadway play, Motherstruck, more than what was revealed in her memoir, The Other Side of Paradise. I learned that this sort of one-sided attempt to get near her mother, to know her mother who abandoned her as an infant, was something that consumed a lot of her adult life. And I was so impressed with the way that she was, on one hand, still working to heal that relationship, but also pouring so much into the raising of her own daughter and doing everything in her power to sort of stop the cycle of abandonment in its tracks. And so that sort of two-pronged, intergenerational saga is what captivated me. And then getting to know Stacey Ann and Zuri, her daughter, over the years, just, it materialized into this beautiful film that we have, A Mother Apart, that's making its world premiere on April 26th at Hot Docs.
So this documentary, this film revolves around Stacey Ann Chin, a Jamaican-American poet, LGBTQ plus activist, a feminist. You just mentioned how you first heard of her through her autobiography. But what drew you to her? Like, was it because she was an activist? Was it because of she's part of the LGBT community? What is it that drew you to her and her story, essentially, like back, a couple decades ago, essentially?
Yeah, well, I didn't know it at the time. I mean, I think back in 2008 with her book reading, I mean, I'm part of the LGBT community, and a Jamaican with a Jamaican mother. And so there were a lot of ways our lives mirrored each other. And so, yeah, just because I was part of the community, I knew of her work, and was everybody who was Black and gay was at that park, Trinity Bellwoods Park, that year when she did the meeting. But fast forward into 2016, 2017, I was myself thinking about motherhood. And my partner at the time, and I talked a lot about it. And I wasn't so sure. I was one of those women who didn't always grow up thinking that I was going to be a mom necessarily, or like a biological mom. I was a teacher in a former life, and, you know, used to think of my students as my kids in a lot of ways. But I was really, for the first time in my life, seriously considering this journey of motherhood for me, and having a biological child and going through the IVF and all of that stuff. And I was, without really being conscious 100% of this, I was looking for templates. I was looking for examples of the kind of mom that I wanted to be. That's what I thought was happening. And so that's what drew me to this subject matter, I think, in the first place. That's what drew me to people like Stacey Ann, because I looked at the way she was is a public figure, and her relationship with Zuri was on display. Her living room protests have been this beautiful example of mother-daughter dialogue, like true parenting in real time that we've had a chance to witness since Zuri was 3. I was looking at examples like this and thinking, you know what, if I do become a mother, if it's in the cards for me, this is who I think I want to be. I was really preoccupied with that thought for a while. The reason I say it sort of used to be my focus is because through the process of making the film, this came as a surprise. But I didn't become a mom. It wasn't in the cards. It just didn't work out. And I got to the point where I thought, you know what, Lori, I didn't think it was ever really about becoming someone else's mother. What I learned was Stacey Ann was an example of how one should not just mother their own child or mother a community, but it's how we should be mothering ourselves. It's something that I needed to learn for myself. And the way that she gives space for Zuri to be who she is, for her to find her voice, these are all things that I needed to turn inward. And I feel like that was the lesson. And that's why it was so emotional when this was sort of when we wrapped a year ago, and we're sort of going into post-production. I was overcome with emotion, and it really had a lot to do with this realization that I'd learned so much, not so much about mothering other people's children or even my own biological children, but I learned so much about what it is to mother oneself. And it was just such a beautiful gift.
Is it fair to say that by making this film, by making this documentary, you learned something about yourself? Like you were just mentioning, was it cathartic to make this film then?
Making this film was 100%. Yeah, it was an excavation of, beliefs and things I thought about myself, concepts I had of motherhood. I learned through this, I've always been aware of the village, and how important other mothers have been. I've stolen this term from the writer Alexis Pauline Gumbs, who wrote Revolutionary Mothering, a book that I read and was very much a part of just me thinking about this concept at all. This idea of M/other, so the mothers in our lives, and they're just the people who show up in important ways in the lives of young people. So like I was aware of these things, but I definitely learned more about my role and my place in the world through this film. And so yes, in many ways it was therapy, it was cathartic, it was and it continues to be, Mark, in this last 3 years, I left the classroom on a leave of absence when we finally got funding for the film, like when we got full funding for the film and we were going into production for real. So that was 2021. And at the same time that I took that leave of absence from the classroom, my own mother started dialysis and was starting to her health was declining. And so for the last 3 years, she just passed in November, my dear mom. But for the last 3 years, I've been, sort of bringing this film into the world while caregiving for my mom, and every day waking up to some iteration, some version of mothering myself, taking care of me. We all know that caregivers, tend to do a poor job of that. There's just been so many threads of this theme of motherhood that have made up my life in the last 3 years. And, my mom was my biggest supporter. She had many conversations with Stacey Ann on the phone. They never had a chance to meet. That's something that Stacey Ann regrets, and I do too. I really wish they had a chance. But this whole, and I turned 50 in there somewhere. So it's just been a whole period of absolute therapy and catharsis and life transitioning and all kinds of stuff.
Here's my last question for you. What do you hope audiences come away with after they've experienced A Mother Apart?
I can tell you what people have told me already, folks who've seen it. Some people want to call a parent, someone who they might be estranged from, or someone who they feel they want to, just someone they want to reach out to. There's something that Stacey Ann says in the film that has stayed with me ever since hearing her say it. And it's, I'm trying to think if it's giving anything away to share this. I don't think it is. It's essentially the notion that when you're in a position to hurt somebody, that is when you are a parent or when you are in a caregiving role, it gives you more grace for the people who may have hurt you. And so I hope that people will find that grace. Life is just too short. It's too short for us to hold grudges and to hold that anger that just really, can eat you from the inside. I hope that people will find grace for themselves the way that I have. For me, this was a lesson in learning to mother myself, to have compassion for myself, to give space to myself. The way that Stacey Ann mothers Zuri is the way that I want to mother myself going forward. I hope people who are in need of that message will walk away with that and understand it, and understand how to manifest that in their own lives. And then ultimately, I also hope that we, whether you're a son or a daughter, any relationship is ever evolving. And it's never too late. Like my therapist has told me, it's never too late to recover from your childhood. It's never too late to forgive. It's never too late to start a new chapter. And so I think people will walk away feeling inspired to do that, to look at their own lives and to perhaps pick up the phone and call somebody, or look in the mirror and simply just, do what I did and just sort of see themselves as see that inner child that still needs mothering.
Well said, well said. Laurie Townsend, well said, well done, well filmed, well made. Congrats on your first film, this powerful documentary, A Mother Apart. Thank you for your time. Thanks for being on the show.
Thank you. Thank you. And I just want to, shout out my producers, Oya Media Group, headed up by Allison Duke and Gaddy Conte George. And then the NFB are co-producers on this. Justine Himlot is the senior producer who has, worked with Gaddy and Allison to really help midwife this project. I feel so grateful that my first film, was completed and that we we're able to do this with a team of all women and LGBT representation and everything. It's been really, really something special. I don't suspect it's always going to be like this, but I just wanted to, shout those groups out. And then, of course, all the creatives and the people who were in the trenches with me. Sonia, who I mentioned, my editor and story editor, Ricardo Acosta. I could go on and on. There were so many important people. And of course, Stacey Ann Chin and Zuri Chin, who allowed me to, have the honor to bear witness to their story. It's been absolutely my honor, and I hope we've done them proud by sharing this part of their journey.
Who was waiting for you to be born?
No one was waiting for me to be born.
Nobody?
Nobody.
You were waiting for me to be born.
Absolutely. My mother left me long before I was born.
I'm a writer, I'm a poet. I would like to think I'm a truth speaker.
You skipped daughter.
My mother left me and came to Montreal.
I trekked all the way across the globe to go and find her after she left me.
She just kind of disappeared.
I'm finding pictures of my mother that I have never seen. It's possible that she won't show up at all. My mother never comes back.
I don't want to do that to you. I definitely want to be a different kind of parent to you. Every bit of my life is built around the reality of being her mom. I can feel something pulling me towards forming a different relationship to the people that scared me. It's time to be done being afraid. It's time to model courage.
Because they're always gonna come back for you.
It's a long story. It's a very long story.
A Mother Apart will be screened Friday, April 26th and Sunday, April 28th. The Hot Docs Film Festival runs in Toronto, April 25th to May 5th. For more information, simply visit hotdocs.ca.
Bill 7, to ban discrimination in employment, government services, and housing, based on a person's sexual orientation, was up for a vote at Queen's Park. Most NDP and Liberal MPPs supported the bill, but without some progressive Conservative legislators' backing, a divisive split could rack the province. 4 PCs decided to break party ranks to vote with their conscience and support Bill 7. Cabinet Minister and MPP Dennis Timbrell did it to show solidarity for his beloved brother, the well-known drag queen Rusty Ryan. And for me, a gay politician who was not yet out, I had to take a stand. We were known as the Gang of Four. I'm former Cabinet Minister and MPP Phil Gillies. The date, December 2nd, 1986, when LGBT rights came to Ontario.
And just like that, this little gay journey through Rainbow Country has come to an end. For the full 2-hour episode, simply head over to marktara.com, where everything is connected, and hit the archives banner. To keep up to date with the show, check out my socials at Mark Tara. The podcast is available on all major platforms. And finally, I want to take this time to thank you for taking your time to be with me. Remember, we are living in days of making dreams come true, so believe in yourself, and the world will believe in you.
Hi, I'm Agnes. My new record, Magic Still Exists, is out now. You are listening to Rainbow Country with Mark Tara.